This is KUGAN CASSIUS for Rifle TV in association with Maximus Gym Marbat. We're in the Maximum HQ Monday after Eddie Hearn's return from Oakland.
Fresh off the plane? Or perhaps not fresh off the plane. In fact, can I wear your hat? Hats don't suit me, but
So let me explain. You bought this hat for me and now you've put it on. Does that add value to it?
They don't. How bad do I look in a hat?
Not as bad as you think.
Really?
That looks alright. Let's start with the weekend. Paul Smith's obviously received a lot of criticism after the weigh-in and obviously the check weigh-in as well. I mean, Dan Raphael put out publicly that he'd been fined $45,000 plus another $15,000. Is that correct, by the way? Yeah.
Some of what he said was correct. I mean, I think firstly, it's important that, you know, as Paul knows, he messed up. So he has to take the criticism. It was unprofessional. Certainly wasn't tactical. But I mean, how on earth people think that you're going to give up 20% of your purse to come in over, like 4 pounds over? The problem was the amount of weight. You know, if he would have come in a pound or two over, it would have been not as bad. But 4, you know, it wasn't good enough. He tried to make the weight. I was with him. Without going into the science of it, because to be quite honest, I don't know enough about the science of it. I know a little bit about nutrition and, you know, water loading, which is what a lot of these guys do. So he had a certain amount of weight to lose on fight week, which was no different to others. But he flew on Saturday, arrived Sunday in Oakland, which was a little bit late, to be honest with you, for the West Coast. And it wasn't coming off in the same way as it normally does. But it was a balls up. In terms of the fines, the bout agreement with the California Commission stated 20% fine for missing the weight. 10% of that goes to the Commission, 10% goes to the other fighter, Adrien Broner. What they were concerned about after that was, they also, by the way, felt that it was a tactical ploy by Paul Smith, which, you know, I was talking to James Prince and BoxNation and Josh Dubin, his lawyer, saying it wasn't, but if, you know, they were concerned that he'd then be 190 pounds or 195 pounds in the ring. So they asked to check weigh-in the next day, and the additional fine was calculated above a certain weight. That weight was at 181. Now, he was never ever gonna make 181. In fact, he weighed in at 176 pounds. Okay. After the weigh-in, after he hydrated and drank, I don't know, probably 3 litres of water, he re-weighed, because I asked him to re-weigh in front of their team, because they asked him to be 181, and he re-weighed at 182 pounds. Okay, that was like 2 hours after the weigh-in. So I said, look, it's impossible for him to make 181 pounds, and more importantly, there is no way I'm allowing him to take off weight on the day of the fight like they were asking him to. So wherever we are, and Paul will hydrate properly. It's dangerous if he doesn't, and he will be whatever he is. And in the morning, obviously the extra fine will be in relation to 181 pounds. It was never, you have to be 181 pounds in the morning. It was, you can be what you want, but this is how the fine will be calculated. So he woke up, and I think he was 184 pounds or something like that. So that was an additional $15,000. But Andre Ward made a very kind gesture after the fight regarding the fine. So we're just working it out with him there. But, you know, it was... Paul Smith's a good, honest pro. You know, he was very disappointed with what happened. I think also there was an element of, when he realised that he wasn't going to make the weight, you know, could he have got another couple of pounds off? Maybe. Would it have affected him in the fight? Yes. So, you know, it was a kick in the nuts. It was a mistake. It was, you know, people say, well, he didn't train for the fight. He did train for the fight, you know. But that was it.
Just going back to, obviously, I read that, I think it was this morning, that Andre Ward is going to allow Paul Smith the fine, basically, and is that obviously what?
Yeah, he still has a big fine to pay with a commission, but, you know, an element of that fine, as Andre said, and we're working that out with BoxNation now, but that was a very kind gesture. And I've got to say, I've had my differences with Andre Ward over the past, but I spoke to him prior to him signing with Rock Nation, and we were talking about doing some stuff together. And he's a classy guy, very classy fighter, and classy man out of the ring as well. So,
with regards to the belt situation, when the fight was first agreed, were you under the assumption that Paul Smith would be fighting for the WBA super title? Never.
No. It was never for the belt because it was made at a catch weight. They requested a catch weight of 172 pounds. Ironically, we actually didn't want that. We wanted 170 pounds. This is what I was trying to say to people. Andre Ward is a much bigger man than Paul Smith. And, people saying, it's an advantage to Paul. Well, actually, it wasn't. And, there is an argument, and people might laugh at this because they say, well, he couldn't even make 172 pounds. If it was at 168 pounds, I honestly believe Paul Smith would have made it. But the catch weight, he hasn't tried to make 172 before, and I think whether he thought it was going to be easier than it was, and whether he took his foot off the gas with regards to, his diet or his nutrition, because he thought he was going to make 172 easier, I think it did mess up his rhythm. He's made 160, I think he was 165 and a bit for the Arthur Abraham fight. So, Ward requested a catch weight, and we were okay with that, but it was never going to be for the WBA title.
Is that obviously the argument would be that obviously experience as Paul Smith is, having fought back-to-back world titles fights before this Andre Ward time, someone like Paul Smith should obviously be in a better position to know what he's doing with the weight.
Yeah, he was gutted because he's quite outspoken. He did give Rocky Fielding stick when he missed the weight, and he messed up 100%, and he's got to face the criticism that comes with that. It's hard when you know that he was trying to make the weight, and you know that he hasn't deliberately tried to come to give him, for me not to back him, and I'll always back my fighters, but he knows he messed up. He made a mistake. It was unprofessional, because if you don't make the weight, it is unprofessional. It's the hardest part of boxing, making the weight. Any fighter will tell you that. But it's this, when you see like Dan Raphael getting on the bandwagon, and but that's part and parcel of being in the public eye. You make a mistake, you're going to get crucified, and he did. As it happens, he was in a fight where he was well up against it. Thought he did okay, but he made a good point after the fight that there was only going to be fractions of opportunities for him to have success in that fight, and I think he had. Hit him with one great right hand, stunned him, but other than that, it was an easy win for Andre Ward. But and again, people say, well, why did Paul Smith take this fight? Well, because it's an opportunity to fight the best in the world for a lot of money. There's not a fighter in Paul's position that wouldn't have taken that fight, but it was disappointing he didn't make the weight.
It's not a defence of Paul Smith, but there has been a lot of instances in world boxing, especially recently over the last 2 months, where fighters, champions haven't made weight, so it's not a new thing, and it won't be an old thing either.
No, and it's, it was wide. It's £4. It wasn't a pound, and that was probably the worst part about it. Obviously, we had Omar Figueroa miss the weight against Ricky Burns. You had Nicholas Walters, and that was a world title fight. It's much worse to miss the weight in a world title fight. And I think that as a fighter, you're much more motivated to make a target weight for a title than you are to make a catch weight. I think maybe that's a problem with the catch weights, and non-title fights. I don't think there's as much pressure on fighters to make the weight. I think when you're taking your weight off on the week of the fight, have you got that same mentality of 168 pound world title, got to be 160, whereas it's a catch weight, no title on the line. He definitely tried to make the weight, but again, could he have got an extra £2 off? Maybe. But would it have affected him physically? Yes. And the answer was that wasn't going to happen.
Just finally on the Paul Smith situation, I'm assuming you've spoken to him after the fight. What's his plans going forward? Has he got plans to go forward?
Listen, Paul Smith, when I signed him at the end of his career, really. I wish I would have got him 3 years earlier. I would have made a lot of money. But You know, from when he's been with us, he had a couple of fights just to get him back in the mix. I got him the Arthur Abraham fight. That, to be honest, you know, before the first Arthur Abraham fight, I felt like I'd done my job. You know, I'd got him a world title fight. Good luck to you. If you don't win it, you know, you do a lot of work for Sky, you've had a great career, perhaps this will be your last fight. He went out, he shocked a lot of people. Not most, but a lot felt he won that fight. It was very close. Then the rematch came up. Great. You know, another opportunity to fight for the world title. Another big payday. Did well in that, lost more convincingly. And then we got the offer to fight Andre Ward. So, what can you do? You know, I mean, you can't turn these fights down. And Paul's honest enough to say, look, what am I fighting for? I'm fighting because I love fighting. I wanted to be a world champion. But first and foremost, I want to pay the bills at home. And I want to look after my family. But I don't want Paul Smith to be a journeyman. You know, I don't want him to take fights and just for the payday and go out. He's earned a lot of money over the last 3 fights. So, for me, I would probably like to see Paul Smith retire now. But I know another opportunity for a fight will come up, and you know, he's proved that he can compete at world level. He's proved that he can't defeat at superior elite world level, which is Andre Ward. So, you know, could he fight, you know, Chudinov? Could he beat Chudinov? Maybe. You know, could he beat, you know, could he compete with Badu Jack? Yeah, I believe he could. But, you know, I don't know. I think because of the run he's had, now after that first Arthur Abraham fight, he was kind of free rolling. And he's had 2 big fights since. And I don't know. He busted his nose, which was disappointing because he said, you know, after 20 years of boxing nearly, he's never busted his nose, and he did, and it was all over the shop. So he was a bit gutted about that. But you know, he's obviously got the punditry work with Sky, and I'm pleased with the job I've done for him.
Also on the same night in Las Vegas, Shawn Porter, which a lot of people did tip him to beat Adrien Broner.
I like your tweet last night.
Haven't read it.
No? Oh, no, you were right. You said, before Brook, Broner equals, Porter equals beast. After Brook, Porter equals bum. Before Broner, Porter equals question mark. After Broner, Porter equals beast. Porter's a brilliant fighter. I mean, he's an elite level welterweight, one of the best welterweights in the world. Kell Brook beat him, I think, with relative ease. Some people had to go at me on Twitter about that, but I had it by 4 rounds. I mean, and it was in his backyard. Schooled him. I guess schooling's a little bit a tough phrase to use. I think I have said that in the past, but I thought I beat him comfortably. Kell Brook is, in my opinion, and I better say, not including Floyd Mayweather because I get a load of stick, the best welterweight in the world. Tell me a welterweight that's better than Kell Brook.
Would there be an argument?
You answer my question.
But
or tell me one that you could argue is.
Okay, but listen.
But
I understand what you're saying, but
Thurman, I think, is the only one you'd say.
Alright, possibly Thurman, but is there an argument that until Kell Brook's been in with those people that you consider him to be better than, it's hard to judge?
Yeah, but how would you rate Shawn Porter in terms of elite level welterweights? Top 5?
Yeah.
Who's beat him? And would you want him to beat another one? That'll happen. But you know, people go on like the Shawn Porter fight never even happened. And I know Kell Brook's resume is not as strong as Amir Khan's, but he's still the best welterweight in the world, outside of Floyd Mayweather. Okay, let's go through the list. I mean, the only one, in my opinion, who you could say, you know, see, I rate Tim Bradley. And I'd like the Brook fight against Bradley, maybe in the spring, in unification, if the WBO comes up. I rate Tim Bradley, and I do rate Keith Thurman, but I believe Brook beat both of them.
Manny Pacquiao?
Brook beats Manny Pacquiao. I mean, I can't see anything. Do you believe Brook beats Manny Pacquiao?
I don't know.
You haven't got to say
No,
yes,
I'm
but
saying, I don't know.
I believe he does. I believe he does.
What about Danny Garcia at 147?
Yeah, I think that Kell beats Danny Garcia at 147. Furman's a quality fighter. I mean, that's a tough fight and a great fight. Them two, in 6 months, 12 months, that'll be a massive fight, Brooke Furman. Errol Spence in 12, he's going to be a threat in the division.
Didn't Floyd say something about putting Spence in with
Furman? Yeah. I mean, Floyd says he's fighting Mayfield or Berto. I could see the Berto fight, honestly. He was there on Saturday in Oakland. I can see it. I'm not sure about Mayfield, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brooke fought Floyd fought Berto.
I think people will be a little...
No, they will be, but...
when are you announcing Kell Brook's next fight?
Could be at the end of this week.
Are you still in the...
We're juggling like September the 12th, is it DeGale, Joshua at the O2? Is it Brooke Rios and Joshua at the O2? Do we go a little bit later with Brooke, maybe in October? Still, at the moment, we know, just announced Warrington against Brunker for September 5th. That'll be our first show of the season at Leeds. We were going to go August the 29th. That's not happening. August the 1st, of course, we're in Hull. September 12th will definitely be at the O2. It's just a case of who and what.
Is there a possibility that Brooke and DeGale could not be on the bill?
No, they won't be on the same bill.
No, what I'm saying is there's a chance that either of them might not be on the bill.
Yeah. There is a chance. In which case AJ would headline.
Isn't AJ headline anyway?
No, not if Brooke's fighting Rios. Or if DeGale's defended world title. I saw stuff about Joshua's fighting Marius Wack. That's a fight we're close to. I love the fight. I think it's a great fight for Anthony, but it's definitely not signed. But he's in a hat with probably half a dozen for September 12th.
You haven't mentioned any opponents for July 18th?
No, we're just trying to see who the opponent will be on September 12th, which we'll tie up this week, and that'll sort of give us a better understanding of the fight on July the 18th.
What kind of level are we looking at for July 18th?
It's not going to be the Wack or the Dillian Whites or those kind of guys. If he's got a big fight on September the 12th.
Are you talking below Kevin Johnson, above Kevin Johnson?
Yeah, probably somewhere around that. To be honest, I've got a meeting with his trainers and AJ later this week, and we'll sit down and plan out what we're going to do and who's going to be when.
So you've obviously got Liverpool this week. We'll talk about that on Wednesday, and then that's it for June. July
the 18th.
18th.
And then August the
1st.
September the 5th. September the 12th. Looks like September the 19th in Cardiff with Selby.
Looks like, it's not been confirmed.
It's like 80% done. We're just tying things up.
What about the end of September?
Nothing the week after. Nothing early October. Oh well, early mid-October we'll be in Birmingham. And then depends on Brooke with September 12th. Brooke could be sort of early mid-October or September 12th. And then we'll be back at the O2 on December the 12th. Big show. That'll probably be Joshua against Dillian White.
In December now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's gone from October to November.
No, well, it was going to be September the 12th, first of all. Dillian wasn't ready with his hand. So I think he'll box on that show anyway. September the 12th.
Yeah.
And then December 12th, the next O2 date. So
you're not going to have an O2 date in October or November?
No.
Quite changes by the minute.
It's just the world we live in, old boy.
Alright, well, I suppose all set up for Liverpool this week.
Yeah, Friday night show. Rabras against Callum Smith is a great fight. Fielding against Vera. I know that Vera was actually on the same flight home as the Smiths.
Yeah?
No, not same flight home. Same flight to Liverpool as the Smiths, back home from Oakland. So he's up for it. Very up, very game. It's going to be a tough fight, that one.
Fine. Well, listen, we'll catch up with you Wednesday anyway at the press conference, the final one for All or Nothing. And
might have some more news for you, brother.
Regarding?
Just in general.
World title fight? New signing?
There's a lot of new signings coming. There is at least 3 new signings coming over the next week. Probably 4.
Any notable names?
Notable names?
Notable names?
You'd have heard of them all.
Okay. Do you know your Matchroom Grassroots Foundation thing? How do you decide who is eligible for that?
So, details that'll be actually, full details will be released this week. All amateur boxing clubs can apply for funding, equipment, development of the premises. We will choose which clubs receive it. A lot of it will be geared towards the demographics of our events. So, in the cities that we're in, we don't want to just limit it to those cities, but they will take priority. We just saved Golden Gloves from going out of operation. Injected some initial funding there, and we'll be doing more. Got a meeting with them in Liverpool this week. They got thrown out of the premises, so we got them back on track. It's not just about turning up with a load of money and saying, here you go, lads. It's about kitting out the premises. It's about bringing our fighters to the premises as well to meet the kids and talk to them. It's about educating the clubs about funding as well and how to increase funding for the clubs. I think it's, obviously it's our initiative, but I think it's fantastic. Listen, we're investing in the elite level of the sport. Now we're investing in the grassroots level. We're going to be injecting a lot of money into the grassroots of the sport.
Okay. You should give something back to your old club.
Or Billericay.
Yeah,
they've moved, haven't they?
They're in Wickford now.
I know. It's now Billericay and Wickford. Might do.
You should do.
There's a few clubs. I mean, it's so difficult, isn't it? How many clubs? But basically, every amateur club do an unbelievable job, and they're all on a shoestring budget, and they're all run by volunteers, and you'd love to help them all, but that's impossible. But one of my jobs now is to make sure that they have a voice, and the government and the councils understand the role that amateur boxing clubs play within the community. How many stories and how many times have you interviewed O'Hara Davis the other day?
Yeah.
Listen to their story. Now, they were out selling drugs. They were out, getting in trouble. They were going to be bad kids. They were going to be bad people in society. Boxing changed their life, and it can do it for a lot of people. And people don't understand that. People in higher authority think that, an amateur boxing club will go, it's full of hoodlums who just, but it's not. It's a place where they learn discipline and respect. And any fighter will tell you, the amount of fighters who say, the day that I walked into a boxing club, I've never been in trouble since. And is it a lot to ask for the government and councils to make those stories multiply by 10s and 20s? Because it easily happens. And that's why I always harp on about us needing role models and ambassadors for the sport. Any sport needs those role models and ambassadors that young fighters or young kids can look up to and say, I want to be like him. And it's not about driving kids into the clubs to find the next Anthony Joshua or find the next Luke Campbell or Callum Smith. It's about teaching kids discipline and respect and keeping them off the streets and giving them something to do and keeping them healthy, keeping them active. And I think the foundation will definitely help to do that. And I hope, the end goal is to create centres of excellence all over the country for boxing, like the EIS in Sheffield, which is a centre for sport, but to have centres for boxing all over the country in key cities.
I like that pitch.
Wasn't it? I'm just passionate about it. You know what they do, these amateur boxing clubs. They're phenomenal. Their coaches turn up for no money. They do it because they love the sport and they know what it does for the kids. It's very rewarding. And if we can make a difference, with financially done well from boxing. So if we can make a small difference to those clubs, and like I said, there'll be a big financial injection in year 1, and it'll be bigger in year 2, bigger in year 3, and we've got some exciting plans.
Okay, Eddie
It's
Hearn.
tough to take me seriously in this hat, though, isn't it?
It's all right. You've rocked it. It's a lovely day outside.
I look like sort of Kevin and Perry. Please, Miss Patterson. Thank you, Miss Patterson.
Giving yourself a little bit too much credit there. All right, well listen, we'll see you on Wednesday for the final press conference. There's a workout tomorrow. Liverpool 1.
Liverpool 1, workout tomorrow. Press conference at 30 St James on Wednesday.
Open to the public.
Yep, the weigh-in outdoors, just outside Hilton, Liverpool 1 on Thursday, and then fight night Friday. Don't miss it.
So, all right, Eddie Hearn, thanks for talking to IFL TV, and we'll catch up with you later on in the week.
Look forward to it.